It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're on the hunt for that Craven trailer.
Oh man, this is one of the times where I wish we had a soundboard, because you could do kind of like that cheetah sound effect.
Exactly. Sometimes we need to be a radio station, but absolutely, we have our first official Craven trailer. We're going to talk about that later. Comic-Con 2023 status is not looking great, Mike. Not looking good this year, but we'll talk about what that means later. Secret Invasion has infiltrated Disney Plus this week with episode 1 and more.
Well, Chris, I won't beat around the bush. You are in a tornado warning actively. It is just purely coincidental that you happen to record your side of the podcast in a basement. So it worked out well today. Yeah,
it's really, really great. You know, we woke up to storms, like absolute, like rain and thunder and everything, and then by noon it was sun shining and warm out, and then by literally we were like, we'll record at 6:15. The next 30 minutes I'm going to have a tornado siren going off in the background. So if anyone can hear that, I apologize. But if you're also in the area, I hope everyone is safe today, and you're listening tomorrow, Monday morning, fresh and early. But you know, usually, it just gets the blood going. You know, just really excites the podcast up a bit here.
Usually our wives spare themselves of listening to us yammer on, but since yours has to be in the room with you right now for safety reasons, I just like to imagine she's just hearing one half of a conversation. So she'll just have to imagine all of my intellectual points, all of my good one-liners, just, you know, all the entertainment, obviously, she's missing out on.
The better half of the podcast.
She's just going to have to envision it all, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And
I did see on your Plex server that pops up every once in a while on the show. I was scrolling through it, and
was it White Chicks? Because you requested that.
I did request White Chicks. It was not streaming anywhere. My wife had never seen it before. We watched it. It was a trip down memory lane, that's for sure. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I saw there's a lot of like Taylor Swift concerts on the Plex server, so just throw it on for the wife down there and put some headphones on her, and everyone can enjoy their time in your basement.
She is partaking in her second Taylor Swift concert on Friday, so kudos to her for getting to go twice.
God, that's it's hard enough to get one set of tickets, man.
Yeah, it was. You know, sometimes just fail upwards. That's what I say. Not in her case. She can hear me say these things now, so I got to be careful.
I know, that's why I kept bringing it up.
Thank you.
I like knowing that there's a side eye in the basement that keeps looking at you, and then you got to look out the like tiny window in your basement that I'm assuming there is, making sure there's not like a cow flying by. You know.
I mean, shoot. Might as well be. I mean, I've seen Twister. It's like living in Twister up here in the Midwest right now. But,
would you like me to distract you? Maybe regale you with some things that I watched this weekend?
Yes, because one of these, you sent me the best text about the second one on this list earlier, and I want to get into that a little bit. So yeah, hop on into some things to distract me from the potentially life-threatening situation going on around me.
Yeah, well, I brought up season 1 of this show last year. It came highly recommended for me, called The Bear on FX, about a guy who takes over his late brother's restaurant in Chicago. It's just a great show, meant to be all binged all at once. Had a great kind of like, I don't want to say like twist ending, but just like fun surprise ending of the first season. Well, the second season came out this week.
A second course on the menu.
Well, it's interesting. They call it The Bear Part 2, so it's kind of interesting just to see how they're kind of classifying just the story in general. But the season's great. Came out all at once. We binged it. If we could have stayed up just a couple more hours into the night on Friday, we just would have binged it all at once. But it's 10 awesome episodes. In the first season, they had a great oneer, which will kind of go into the next thing that I'm going to talk about here in a second. But in the first season, they had an episode entirely all shot in one shot, and it was just a chaotic, just in the kitchen moment going between all the cooks and servers, trying to get these Italian beef sandwiches out. It's just an awesome, well-crafted episode of television. And a cool thing that they did this season is they did like a flashback episode to the holidays, Christmas in one of the characters' houses, and it's an hour long. And it's just a cacophony of just family crammed in a house, just like talking over each other, yelling at each other. It's just like chaos incarnate. It's like star-studded because you round out all this family you've never met before with all of these like actors who definitely want to be on this show now, since it was nominated / won a bunch of Emmys, I'm pretty sure, last go around. So it's just crazy. I've just never subjected myself to like 50 minutes of just like people talking over each other, but it was actually good. So I highly recommend season 2 of The Bear. Really, 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 really good.
The main actor reminds me of the guy from Ratatouille. Grew up and was running a restaurant, but without a rat.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like that
Yeah,
guy.
it's like a jaded. Isn't his name Linguini? Isn't that his name? It's like a jaded
Remy,
Linguini.
but I'm like, it's not Remy. That's the mouse.
Yeah, no rats, unfortunately, but in this universe, I'm sure there's like dead possums and raccoons in the ceiling of these restaurants.
I always see a bunch of clips from the show kind of pop up on different timelines and like reels kind of situations. Like I believe just the intensity of that main guy. He always looks like he's like one cigarette away from like going crazy, right? So I love it.
It's funny, you're always like, I was left remembering the first season as just being really intense and chaotic and just lots of energy, but I forgot also just how funny the show is. Like the show is like really legit, like laugh out loud moments, because all the characters just have such great banter, but it's also just like lapped just by like the intense drama and situational intensity of everything. But yeah, go watch The Bear season 2. I don't know if it's like I think it's like an FX / Hulu show where I don't know if you can actually like turn on the FX channel and see it.
I'm seeing it only on Hulu currently, but it's FX Productions, but the original network is Hulu, so I don't think it's on FX right now.
Yeah, so go give that one a watch. It's great, but if you wanna keep going with the concept of long one shots and one takes, we all know that there's a movie that's true to our hearts, Chris, that we talked about the first one on the podcast 3 years ago now, called Extraction 2,
starring Chris Hemsworth as Jake Extraction.
Yes, his character name, I believe, it's very forgettable because you don't really need to know the characters' names. I think it's Tyler or something, or maybe Taylor, or I'm not even really sure. But you kept calling him Jake Extraction. Now he's just Jake Extraction to me when I watch these movies now.
Tyler Rake is his name. I did this.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, that makes sense because I think they'd say Rake a couple times in the movie, and I thought they were literally talking about like, oh, is this some sort of like pincer move, like the Rake or something like that? Like they're just saying his last name.
The only thing, so I've not got to watch this movie yet because of the house stuff we've been doing. But I did see a photo today where he literally hides just behind a ladder, an open ladder from a gunfire from a helicopter. So I'm excited to hear about this from you. So. Yeah,
well, some standout moments in this movie. First of all, just starting out with the title screen that shows the logo for Extraction. They're really taking liberties with the letters here, and Extraction ends with the letters ION, so they turn the I into a Roman numeral, and then they shave off a little bit of the start of the O to make the second Roman numeral. And I was like, all right, you're already just really trying to find a number 2 here within all of these letters for Extraction, and you're not quite getting there yet, but they're trying. But the long oneer shot that kind of consumes a lot of the marketing for this film happens within the first act, and it is long, it is crazy, it is intense. It ebbs and flows of kind of like believability when it comes to like visual effects and execution, right? I mean, you get going for so long, it becomes very obvious very quickly this is not actually a oneer, right? You know, they're not just trying to secretly hide a couple of takes. They've like choreographed this whole thing, which I looked up. It took them 29 days to kind of execute in its entirety, right? So they obviously built in like places where they can cut. There's obvious visual effects moments that they could really easily hide transitions, and like that's okay. I don't think they're trying to fool the audience and make them think that they actually did all of this in one single take. But since the camera never cuts, you just have this continuous intensity of like where you feel like you're in the moment. And once you finally get through this like 20-minute segment, which travels, I didn't realize, I thought it was all going to take place within this prison, which is kind of what they highlight a little bit in the trailer, but no, it extends into a car chase, into a train chase. There's time of day changes where it starts at night and then you're like ending in the morning. So like by the end of it, you're just like so overwhelmed. But I think that's what the filmmakers wanted. They wanted you to feel as exhausted as everyone, and that's the part that you saw, Chris, where Jake Extraction is briefly hiding behind a very, very open ladder from like a machine gun from a helicopter. But it all works really, really well. I'll just encompass it all and just saying like it's just a fun 2 hours, right? If your price of admission is purely just your time and your Netflix subscription, it's worth it, right? You know, I don't know if I'd necessarily say like, oh, go see if this is screening in some sort of big theater in your town and take the whole kids and family. I don't know if it's necessarily worth all that, but
so it was
I think
built for Netflix, and you feel like you got your Netflix worth out of this.
Yeah, exactly. But they did exactly what you should do with a sequel. They went bigger with it. They went more intense with it, and I think you have more fun with this than the first one. But I think the first one, it's a little bit more contained, kind of all in one location. I think it's like in India or something like that. I don't remember
like
exactly.
Some sort of like Middle Eastern country.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly where it takes place, but it's all kind of within like one, I would say at least zip code. Whereas like this one is just kind of like vaguely in Eastern Europe. It seems like they kind of maybe cross a border and then they don't, and then they come back. So that's like probably the biggest contextual flaw of the film, is you never really know exactly where you are, but that's okay because there's really fun action set pieces. But yeah, go check out Extraction 2. I won't really spoil anything, but it seems like they're planning, it seems like they'd like to do more, as opposed to where the first one, they kind of ended it, whereas they're leaving this one open-ended.
They did announce Extraction 3 last week, remember, at the Tadum event, so like we do know
Chris,
third one's coming.
I can't remember anything once this microphone turns off.
Yeah. I know. You're like a new person. It's like rebooting you every time we get on the show every week, so absolutely. But yeah, I'm excited to watch Extraction 2. It's been on my to-do list. I sent some photos to you. Our theater area is now put back together so I can watch this at home and not have to like, be like trying, like, I don't like watching things in bed, and that, you know, I know my wife hears me, and I know it drives her crazy. Like, I just don't like watching movies in bed. Like, I'm like, it's too far away. I'm not in the mood.
You're in like you're kind of like in a weird slouched position for a little too long as well. Like even when I go to a theater that has like the quote luxury loungers, I don't lounge the entire time. I kind of like sit up for portions of it. But I gotta, before I forget, there is a really cool part in the one shot of this film where they do something really clever, where the camera is like all freehand through like the whole thing, right? And then Jake Extraction gets hit over the head with like a brick, or he gets dazed or something like that. I don't exactly remember. And then they attach and affix the camera to his body, kind of like when they do like those like kind of like GoPro shots where they attach it to the person and like you're moving with them as they're like confused and wobbling around. And then he falls, or I don't remember exactly what happens, and they detach the camera again and keep going. So like they're doing some really kind of creative stuff within that super long 20 minutes. So go watch it, people. It's fun.
Yeah, and if you got kicked off your borrowed Netflix account, this might be a good one to just get it for a month. Test it out. Try it out. But let's go ahead and jump into the news here while my house is still standing, if we will, and talk about The Flash. I did see. I'm not talking about this yet, and we can't beat a dead horse, if you will. But it said it had historically the worst second drop-off ever for a movie.
What was like 78%, I think?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Spider-Verse is back at the top of the charts this weekend. And very closely tied with Elemental, which has been out for 2 weeks. But the big news here is that that Warner Brothers China has been accused of paying for positive reviews overseas. And I don't think this is Warner Brothers as a whole. I don't think this is necessarily isolated to this movie either. But the I guess conversation piece is that everyone has said, or the reports have said, everyone calls this the best superhero movie ever, are kind of being scrutinized and criticized because they're like, it's not, like, it's obviously not that good, right? Like, and whenever all the reviews are saying that, they're like, well, you probably really didn't watch the movie, or someone paid you to say it, because we see all the flash. We enjoyed it. We didn't hate it, right? But we both are aware that it's not the best superhero movie ever made, right? So it's not even the best superhero movie this month. It's really weird. But there's a Twitter thread of in our notes here of someone who has been translated from this, but like the reviews from people in China, like, saying that these reviews, they didn't actually say these reviews, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's giving off that energy of when people are using Chat GPT to like cheat on quizzes and tests, where you do the Command F and look for as a large language model, which always ends up in these like these faked essays. The funniest thing about it all is, like, I don't think the reviews were ever the problem for this film, right? Yeah. I mean, they had great tailwind, or I guess headwind, theoretically, going into the movie. They had like Tom Cruise and a couple other like really big, like Zack Snyder, people saying like, this is an amazing movie, go check it out. So it's not like they didn't have like, the positive review hype going into it. It was just, we talked about it in our review for the movie. It's just so bogged down with just so much nonsense.
Well, I think hyperbole can only reach so far, right? Like, we don't need Tom Cruise coming out and saying it's the best movie he's ever seen, because it's not. It is not the best movie Tom Cruise has ever seen. We all know it's that one with John Travolta where he was the aliens, written by L. Ron Hubbard. No, we're kidding. But it's just really it's hard to believe what's PR, what's fake versus what it is, and that's why a lot of people have started filtering automatically by audience reviews, right, on the review sites like Rotten Tomatoes, right? Critics reviews, we can look at that, sure, fine, but I think audience reviews, audience scores, will sometimes clash and be opposite of those critics, and I feel personally that I align with those more often than not sometimes, right? So I think this is an interesting thing. But I don't think it's Warner Brothers as a problem. I think a lot of studios probably do this. They just happen to be caught because things weren't lining up the way they promised along the way. Mm-hmm. So you guys can check out that Twitter thread in there and see what people were looking at. On the flip side, the Blue Beetle movie, Mike, that's coming out later this year, is confirmed to be in the DCU, the first DCU movie, rather than being attached to the previous DCEU, if you will, that ended with The Flash. And I don't think this was intentional. I think it's just happenstance that is so far removed that they're like, we can use it.
Yeah, it almost just feels like, okay, we've seen the final cut of the film, and we were effectively able to sanitize the context of the world so much in a way that this could exist anywhere, right? I almost get the vibe of just like, George Lopez does truly say Batman is a fascist, right? In the actual movie, like he does in the trailer. Like, what if he said Captain America was a fascist instead? You could probably just like slot this movie within any comic book universe, is the vibe that I get, which I don't know, like it still could be a very good movie, right? But as I've said like a million times before, the best part about these comic book movies is when they all get to play within the same sandbox, and they all get to exist within the same universe, and they all just feel like you're getting this multiplier. And I just feel like when I go to see Blue Beetle, I'm not going to get any of those multiplying effects.
Well, and I don't think I think because it is the first technical movie, but you're right, it was made during a previous people in charge, so there could be references, like you mentioned, sanitized. Obviously it'll refer to heroes, but not specific ones. Like, we're not going to hear about like the Justice League event, right, kind of thing. As we'll talk about later, when you reference the blip so many times, like you're not going to hear references to things that we have seen. So I think this will be fine. Again, every time I see the trailer, I'm like, oh, these shots look like they belong on a streaming service. Like they didn't film this with like the high-end lenses and the cameras. They just did it with what they could get for the day. So hopefully we are surprised and something good comes out of this. But we're all really waiting for the Superman movie down the road, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I like the main actor that's supposed to be in this from Cobra Kai. They're fun. They have a lot of youthful energy. They have some combat experience, at least from being in Cobra Kai. That's for sure. But like, I don't know. Don't you feel like you can just like see like exactly what's going to happen in this movie already, right? He starts off from from the bottom, right? He reluctantly falls into these like powers, and this with great power comes response. Like it just seems like I can already see like the classical like hero's journey, which I'm not saying it's bad, right? This is a great place to start, but I just feel like I'm just not going to be super entertained when I go to this film.
I cannot wait for the palette swap villain to appear, right? And
there's a different Beetle that actually fell like to Earth on the other side of the planet, and a bad guy attached themselves to it.
Yeah, exactly. Or they hey, we were able to copy this, but obviously, it's gonna feel like that down the road.
And before any like hardcore Blue Beetle fans get really upset and say, but that's who knows, that could be the origin of the comic book. I'm like, that's fine. Like, I'm not upset, right? But like when you get such a saturation of just origin stories over the years, you're just like, I just hope they find some place to add something new and fresh in. That's all.
And, again, knowing it was built on a very small budget for a streaming audience, we have to keep our expectations in check too. But they made a very active choice to move this to theaters. So.
Know what I really hope is in this movie, though, Chris? I really hope, just for a one brief scene, Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman sweeps in and just saves the day.
You're reading my mind, because she is the cameo queen right now in the DC universe, and in a recent interview, Gal Gadot is apparently is apparently leaving the door open for a return as a character. I never thought she was the problem as Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, right? The second movie script was just awful. It was terrible. It was the worst thing I've ever seen. And it even has the internet's favorite daddy, what's his name, Pedro Pascal in it, right? It's like the main character. Like, you had everything going for you. How did you mess up so bad? But she has, like I mentioned here, cameoed in the last two DCEU films, momentarily in Shazam to bring back Shazam to life. And then here to use her lasso of truth for Barry to say that he knows what sex is but hasn't had it before. So I really hope they use her.
Don't forget, she popped up in a random submarine in Fast X this summer as well.
I can't wait for the Justice League crosses over with the Fast franchise. But absolutely. So it is. I think she's fine. I think she does a great job, but she can only wait around for these roles for so long before she has to go over to Netflix and do Red Notice 2. And what's the spy movie thriller that she's got coming out?
Something that
didn't look interesting.
Queen Heart, Stone Heart, Queen Stone, something like that. I don't know.
Absolutely, but I would love to see her get a third movie, right? I maybe we don't need Patty Jenkins. Maybe they get some fresh blood in there to do it. They could tie this very closely into the DC universe, right? If Aquaman, or if the Flash gives us a multiverse full of spaghetti and pasta sauce, why not? Have this actress continue on as Wonder Woman, right? Totally fine with me. Yeah, so absolutely, maybe she will make a cameo in this. She'll be the first continued casting for the DCU. Speaking of the DCEU, there was announced this week that a box set is releasing this fall, collecting 10 of those films, which include Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman 84, Aquaman, The Flash, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and Black Adam.
There you go. This is for those Snyder fans that want to finally complete their altar to his likeness in their closets.
I think this is the Whedon cut, though, because that's the one they always say is the official one from them. So,
they would throw out probably Wonder Woman 84 anyway as well.
Yeah, possibly. I think they would probably maybe just swap out their Justice League discs, right, with the black and white 4x3 version we all wanted to see. But if you hear this correctly, we are missing 3 movies from this list: Suicide Squad, The Suicide Squad. Yes, these are different movies, and Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. But all 3 of these were R-rated, so they're probably not putting them in like a big family consumer set that you can buy off the shelf.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is a play for the shelves at Walmart.
Yeah. Did you happen to see? I didn't link the image. Did you happen to see the movie set image? It's like a fanning image of like all the movies like around it, because I had to go through. I'm like, what am I missing? What movies have I not seen in the past 10 years of DCU? But I kept forgetting Black Adam was in there. So yeah, it'll be coming out. It's a 4K Blu-ray, so future-proof yourself while you can.
I can't believe I totally forgot Birds of Prey even existed.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't think it's a bad movie, but like, there's been no consequences from it, I guess, or like any reference later. As Mike says, the superhero synergy is very lacking.
Yes,
in that
very
movie.
low.
But all 3 of those movies do have Barbie herself as a starring in all of them, so that's pretty fun, right? Like, she's reportedly, Margot Robbie's coming over as not Wonder Woman, Invisible Woman in Marvel. So, yeah. Anyway, but check out the box set, now available, pre-order on Amazon if you want to, coming out this fall. Now for the meat and potatoes of this podcast, Mike. The thing we've all anxiously been waiting for is the Craven trailer, and I've linked the Red Band trailer below, Mike, in our notes, because the scene where he bites somebody's nose off is in this one and not the other one, and I really wanted to see what the big deal was about that scene. Not that impressive, gonna be honest. Like, very, very disappointing.
I think unfortunately we were built up by the description that they got to see at, was it CinemaCon whatever it was. Like, it sounded like, oh man, he bites a nose off, and it was, I suppose any nose biting is brutal, but
yeah, it wasn't like, I thought he was gonna do like up close and be like really bloody, but it wasn't. It was like akin to watching a Mike Tyson fight.
Yeah.
So it really wasn't too bad, but this trailer really. How do I find the words for this, Mike? I'm not excited for this movie.
It seems like it definitely lives within the villain universe that they've been building, right? You could almost do like a triple showing of the Venom, Morbius, and Craven just trailers side by side, and you'd be like, yeah, I'm in the same universe for sure. Obviously, like, absolutely like zero tie in to like really the Marvel universe in any way, except for like maybe like the cameo of another villain coming up.
The ending watch the ending be Michael Keaton show up and be like, "Here, you want to hunt Spider-Man? You're
bring it
real
on.
Game. Here's Spider-Man."
You know how I just want to go off the deep end with this franchise. I mean, I know you have it listed down here, but it was like my biggest takeaway was the blood.
Magic blood. How many times can Sony mess up their franchises with magic blood?
Like, I don't know if the origin of Craven has kind of just been different over the years. Maybe I don't know how it's changed within Ultimate or different universes, right? But I would say traditionally Craven is known as just human. Maybe he might have heightened skills due to like training or just kind of like origins of like just growing up in like the jungle, right? He just could be more attuned to nature, but nothing really supernatural to state from here. And it was hard to ignore the juxtaposition, and I almost wanted to tweet a side by side of the shots of the blood going into his body compared to the blood going into Tatiana Maslany from her cousin in She-Hulk. It's almost the exact same premise of, oh no, magic blood got in me.
Well, I mean, if you think the entire premise of most of the Amazing Spider-Man movies, right, was magic blood. We got Morbius, very much that's a whole movie about magic blood, right, and vampires. I would say probably even close to Venom, some of that being blood related, right? Because Carnage was crazy. Because
I mean, the common denominator would be liquid.
Yeah.
Magical. Just stay away from fluids, people.
Yeah.
There's no good to come from it.
Yeah, just bring Band-Aids. If you have a Band-Aid, it's not gonna help. But like, I think my biggest problem with this trailer is it tells too much of the story, and I would rather have been disappointed in the theater than watching this trailer. I wish they would have like cut a really good trailer than just disappointed me in the theater.
Oh, they gotta. I mean, like, come on, like, the only real reason I have any sort of in-depth knowledge of Craven myself is because I watched the '90s Spider-Man cartoon growing up, where Craven was a regular on the show, right? And I mean, if you weren't plugged into that, right, at the very least, I'm sure you weren't reading comic books as well. So, and if you're not showing Spider-Man in the movie at all, like they're gonna have to show you everything to even get you to buy a ticket.
Yeah. Well, and you know, Craven has been known for literally hunting Spider-Man. Craven's Last Hunt is the biggest comic book with him in it, right? One of Spider-Man's like, you got to read this book because, you know, this is very important for Spider-Man's history and this person hunting him. But like, it's not. It doesn't feel like he's not hunting anyone we know. His apparently the villain is the Rhino, right at the end, who also gets magic blood to turn him into a rhino.
It seems like the villain's actually his father.
Well,
it seems like he's got an axe to grind against his dad, and then at some point in time, the Rhino shows up. I'm getting vibes that Rhino's like teaser at the end of the movie. Like he's not even going to be in it. It's going to be like the Rhino in The Amazing Spider-Man, where you just get him at the end of no consequence.
It's sad that it's not Paul Giamatti, right? We have confirmation it's not him, but no, I from what I've heard from before that, he's actually in this, you know, more than just the end scene. That's great, but you know, do you remember that movie that came out? Was it last year? Beast. With Idris Elba, where like running from a lion in a safari kind of thing.
Oh yeah, it's kind of like Jaws, but with a lion.
With a lion, I had that like flashbacks to that trailer when I was watching this. I'm like, it's so weird that, you know, he wants to shoot it, and then he the powers that he has where he can control animals to do what, like, and see through their eyes or control them was really, really weird. Like, that's not a like, I understand that maybe he had like a connection to animals, but like not like controlling animals, right? With this, so this is really stretching what the character is known for, and that's fine. Yeah, sometimes changing characters works. Cool, but this doesn't feel authentic in any way. It feels very by the numbers. What can we get away with and put out, and people will you know, it won't make $1 billion, but maybe they'll watch it because it's got an enthusiastic action star in it.
I guarantee we go see this movie on opening weekend, and if we're lucky enough to have a crowded theater, if they show Jared Leto's Michael Morbius in the post-credit scenes, our theaters will lose their minds, because the only people going to Craven on opening weekend are people that also went and saw Morbius, and we're just like, it's crazy how I've come around to this idea. Just like, go in this crazy idiotic sandbox and make the dumbest thing possible. Please get this movie out so I can get to the sequels as fast as possible.
Right. Well, see, that's how I feel about the Fast franchise, Mike. You've come around to this as I've come around to the Fast movies.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, let's put money down right now. Is if Jared Leto shows up, is he gonna say it's Morbin time? Because like it's come full circle. Like, they want to put it in there now.
Police, or if they want to maybe subvert expectations slightly, he could say it's Craven time.
Oh, yeah.
Just to nod to the movie that he's in. So if we have Morbius, we have Craven, we have Rhino now, possibly Vulture, depending on if, you know, they want to pay Keaton's paycheck, and I don't know, maybe he will, maybe he won't.
They don't need him there. Remember, they voiced over his last scene with CG and had him call on a cell phone. Hey, can you read this line for us real fast? Yeah,
they just never have him take the helmet off. Get some sort of symbiote in there in some way, right? So that's 5.
Venom.
So we just need to introduce one new character for the Sinister 6 side of things.
I would say do a Scorpion. I feel a Scorpion would fit in this universe way easier than it would the MCU at this point.
I think maybe one thing to tie all the genetic stuff together is maybe bring in like Smythe. Was it Alistair Smythe or something?
The Spider Slayers.
Yeah, just to kind of bring it full circle, right? You know, he couldn't necessarily be on the ground, but, you know, put him in some sort of like exosuit, right? That'd be kind of cool.
Well, maybe what if he is maybe providing enhanced gear to these villains? Like he's not really there until the end, and then he shows up and he's got an even bigger batter suit. This is sounding very much like Silver Samurai from the Wolverine movie, but yeah.
And they have to fight. They definitely fight Andrew Garfield's version of Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Just that would be so silly. It'd be so funny. It'd be so weird. I feel like Garfield would be down to just be Spider-Man one more time in like this garbage universe.
He's got to make his face he did at that award show when they're like, and we have, what they said Tom Holland, and it really wasn't him on purpose, but he was like making that stupid face where he's like, So I like maybe they could do that, but what's the odds they don't even put Spider-Man in this, Mike? At the end, what if they're like, psych, we never did Spider-Man?
The odds are incredibly high.
Yeah.
And I'm forgetting the Madam Web movie that takes place in like the 90s. So maybe some sort of like hero figure emerges from that movie, and maybe maybe the Sinister Six fights them. So that could be a possibility. You get your Spider Person without actually,
It's this trailer is very it's not cringe yet, but like, boy, is it bordering cringe at the end of the day. But I'm excited to see it. Let's go watch it. Let's go have a good time. We're not critics, we're fans, Mike. Remember that. I keep telling myself that when we go into these. But so Craven, the trailer's here. Check out the red band. Oh, I also put the first poster with some incredibly CG abs here, like the most Photoshop set of abs I've ever seen in my life on a man.
1, 2, 3. Possibly an 8-pack.
I see. I'm counting 5.5 here, but this is from there's a picture of Craven. If you search Craven the Hunter in Google, you will see the image of him lying on, like, sitting on a throne with like his lion's vest made on here. So they made sure to literally put Aaron Taylor Johnson in that pose for the poster, right? To say, hey, we know we saw the comic cover once also.
Yeah. To be fair, I loved Aaron Taylor Johnson in Bullet Train. He was almost better than Brad Pitt was in that film of just entertainment on screen. So he's gonna give it his all, I think, much like Leto and Tom Hardy did.
Yeah, the fact that Russell Crowe's in this is just blowing my mind. How did they get him? Right, like. He has been the dad of Superman. He was Zeus in Marvel. Now he's the father of Craven the Hunter. Like, he must be really needing some work lately, I guess. Or maybe he does a fun project and then a not fun project. So, check out the trailer. Let us know what you think. Craven the Hunter out this fall, right? I think it's October, maybe. So we'll keep you guys posted. Fun fact for people who may not know, I did not know this myself until recently, but Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has multiple versions of this movie in theaters, Mike. And I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's at least, I've included a tweet that shows 2 video scenes of Lila, Spider-Man 29's AI, doing different things, different animations based on the same conversation, same voice track, but she does different little things. And one of the animators, I believe, or someone in charge of the movie, came and says, I wonder when people would start to notice. So
I read an article about it yesterday, and I don't know if somebody has cataloged the differences in their entirety yet, but they mainly seem to be kind of like alt lines, right? Like, oh, we could do this line, we could do that line. The Scarlet Spider, who's voiced by what's his face from SNL and The Lonely Island, I can't remember his name.
Andy Samberg.
Yeah, he has like a different line apparently when he's like threatening somebody. Is like, oh, I'll give you a headlock in one version, and then there's another version where he says something else. But not changing anything strongly narrative wise, but I do think it's fun, right? If you just have the ability to kind of create slightly different versions of your movie, and everything's kind of like distributed like digitally or on hard drives anyway, like, go ahead, do it. I think that's just like a fun little tidbit.
Yeah, so I found a list going here, but the one I'd seen before this was the spot when he's gonna put his finger in the mini collider. He says, "Oh," which would not be good, or he says, "Oh, what the heck." So I wonder if there's truly 2 versions, or if there is maybe multiple versions of this out there, and why would they do this? Do you think that they would have different animation in some voice lines than the other for that.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like the bigger galaxy brain question, right? Is this just a fun Easter egg for the audience, or are they hinting at something even larger that everything that happened in the second movie can't totally be trusted because the multiverse is fracturing or something like that? I don't know. I just think it's fun. You know, you have a movie like this that's entirely made, you know, digitally in a sense, where you can kind of just go in and like tweak things. You don't necessarily have to whip a camera out, you know. Yeah, I think that's fun.
Yeah, my biggest I go to an interesting thing here, is that maybe Sony is doing regional testing to see what versions are being leaked online early, like pirated versions.
Yeah, maybe,
because you know they are all movies now are not sent by reels. They're sent or downloaded digital cinema packages that are locked and encrypted, and they can't unlock until the said time they send a code down to unlock it. But it can be both ways. But like, you know, if you have different regions and you're selling, you're like, okay, well, we saw this version on pirated sites, we know this region has a problem, maybe we start selling the physical versions there earlier, or maybe we stop, you know, releasing movies there if we're seeing a bigger, you know, we're losing more money because of them, kind of thing. So I'd be interested to see what the reason is. I don't think they'll ever come out and say it, but it was the associate editor on the film who did confirm that there are multiple versions out there. So I think I would love to see the physical release or whatever, how you can turn these on, right? Which one's going to be the home version that you get?
Yeah, there's a poor guy out there in the world that I guess likes to do like fan captioning for the movie, kind of just to get a what are they called, like a fan transcription of the movie.
Oh yeah.
And they found out about this and they're like, no, it's a lot more work to do now that you have to hunt down all these versions. But that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested to learn more, but maybe we won't. Other big things that might this next topic is going to be wild. We got two kind of bullets with it, but Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con 2023, Marvel, HBO, Universal, Netflix, Lucasfilm, Sony, and probably others are not presenting this year. They may have floor space, yes, but they will not have. Not all these will have panel spaces. Some may not even have floor space. Very much a reduced capacity for these very large film companies at San Diego Comic-Con, Mike. And what do you make of this?
I saw an interesting theory, which I think holds pretty strong, that right now, obviously, the writers are on strike in Hollywood. The Directors Guild, they have like a tentative agreement, but
they voted to ratify it, didn't they?
Yeah, not 100% sure exactly how that is all going to shake out, but they could possibly go through. But now the Actors Guild, it looks like that they probably are going to strike because their deadline is by the end of the week. So what's one thing actors aren't going to do? They're not going to go to Comic-Con, and they're not going to promote projects if they're on strike. So if that is kind of the biggest draw usually in these big halls, is bringing the stars out on stage, like, well, we're not going to go. I always think it's crazy. It must be a nightmare for the people that plan Comic-Con, that you can be 1 month out from your convention and you're starting to get word that these big you know, people aren't going to show up. Like, that's got to be a nightmare.
My guess is they probably already knew, right? Like, you probably have to lock in your space and stuff pretty early on, because, you know, the Marvel's not throwing their panel together 1 month in advance. They would have done this a long time ago, especially if you're going to print giveaway, like paper giveaways of those things. You know how much they give out of that stuff. So my guess is they've known for a while, but it's probably not come out on anyone's schedules. I think it is twofold. One, you can't really promote projects that aren't in production, right? It's very hard to talk about those. So I think that the writer's strike is doing that. The upcoming actors strike, if it goes through, you know, they're not going to book any. They all get paid for that. Those are all paid appearances, right? That's part of the deal. So they're not going to come either. But at the same time, I am okay with this. In some terms, because Comic-Con is not about movie studios. They came up 10-15 years ago and kind of just like overpowered Comic-Con with the rise of the MCU and DC and everything else, right? They never used to be there. It used to be comic book stuff nerds, and while it may take this down to a much smaller venue, a smaller event, it would put the focus back on Comic-Con, if you will. Now, I think there's an opportunity for maybe a different organization that's not called Comic-Con to take that place and create a different entertainment convention, if you will. Kind of like we have CinemaCon, right? Down there, like, in Brazil's they call it Brazil's Comic-Con. So like what could take this place to provide a place for TV movie studios to present their projects at the end of the day, right? And keep Comic-Con close to comics and artists and other celebrities as well. I think there's a benefit to both of these, but it would suck to not have all that money, because then Comic-Con's going to shrink down pretty quick.
Yeah, I feel like it's just going to be a one-off like Lightyear, right? Like we've seen this before where studios kind of rotate off Comic-Con occasionally if they don't have anything big to promote, or if it's not really aligning with their announcement or media cycles. I just don't think you can undervalue the branding that is Comic-Con and the weekend and the media buzz that you get around it.
I would say I would used to think that until E3 has been canceled, right? E3 used to be the video game thing, and now everyone's like, we'll just hold our own panels. Like, we are in the digital age where Marvel can have their own panel, right, and do that. All these companies, HBO, Universal, Netflix just had their Tudum event last weekend. They don't need Comic-Con. Lucasfilm and Marvel usually do things with Disney. So like, are we in an age where they're just going to hold their own panels and do their own media promotion and save those costs?
I don't believe you're entirely wrong. But I think that you could see a few differences where, like, at least with the Netflix to dumb thing, I didn't even know it was happening until it was literally happening and the headlines were hitting my feed. No anticipation, no build up. And then once it was done and over with, like, I forgot about it, right? Like, once I kind of watched that weird, goofy One Piece trailer and we talked about it on Sunday, it's literally not come up again in my mind. And then with E3, slightly different beast, I think, because it kind of started as just like an industry thing where if you were lucky and you could weasel yourself into it and somehow you could align yourself with the industry, you could get into the conference. So I don't know. You've been to SDCC. I've been quite a few times. I have a soft place in my heart. So
Absolutely.
I hope it sticks around and doesn't go anywhere. I hopefully things kick back up again next year.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is the value there, but my concern is if it continues, it may not be the SDCC we once knew, if you will, right? Post COVID, digital era here is taking over, but we'll see. My biggest excitement was hopefully to get Marvel Studios, right, in Hall H, because everything has been shifted. We literally just got new release dates for everything. We've got several things that we know are in works but have not been announced. We need some actors for Fantastic Four. I would love to get an updated schedule for their TV shows, right, because that's kind of been shifted and delayed as well. But if we're not going to have a Hall H, maybe they'll put something out later. However, they will focus on Marvel Studios will focus on floor events and have a presence there. So I think leading kind of into what you said, right? Like, it's not going to go away forever. They're going to have something. This is not going to be the same as it's always been this year because of everything. The perfect storm going on outside my house and at Comic-Con this year because of everything. So really, really sad not to do that. But we'll shift gears. One of the next after the Marvels, the following Marvel project is Deadpool 3, and this week we have reports that there are confirmed at least 3+ Deadpool variants in this film, Mike.
Oh, I didn't even consider that as a possibility. I mean, technically we did get to see the second Deadpool variant of Ryan Reynolds from X-Men Origins Wolverine. Because he time travels. And he what does he actually do to him? Does he like push him down into that reactor or something? I don't remember.
No, he cuts him in half from behind or something like that. Like he like is behind him and like I don't remember how he kills him. He either chops him in half or cut his head off or something from behind because he was still in the silhouette from the light behind him a little bit. But Deadpool it was time travel, but it seemed more multiversal, right? Like he was going literally like where Ryan Reynolds was taking on a contract for the Green Lantern and stuff like that. So it really was, I would say, the first movie that toyed with the idea of the multiverse, if you will, in this thing.
Maybe we'll get to see. I mean, I know probably the most popular variant, I guess maybe if you could call it variant of Deadpool right now, is Gwenpool. Mm-hmm. People really seem to like that character. It's very current in the comic books. But beyond that, I feel like Deadpool variants are usually just kind of like gimmicks and jokes. Like it's either like some sort of like animal, or it's like a baby, or it's like a like a zombie or something like that.
Headpool, which is like Deadpool's head when he's a zombie, is like a very popular thing because he just carries it around. The Ultimate Universe version of Deadpool was actually very serious, like kind of like a lethal assassin kind of killer without the jokes. So that could be an interesting version. I hope they kind of go wild and create some new ones, right? Like, this is what this one could have been in that, like, if we did a 90s X-Men or, like, some other version, like, they pull them. So I think there's a way to have some fun with it. But the other news that kind of dropped here later in the week was that Ben Affleck has been spotted on set for this movie. And, the only thing I was like, if they're hopping multiverses for Fox properties, well, guess who played Daredevil?
Oh, yeah. That could be fun. I mean, and that kind of goes into... if we're talking about just iconic Deadpool storylines, I mean, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Yep.
One of the more iconic ones, and one of the more fun, kind of almost like what ifs / offshoots, if you will. That could be really, really fun as well. But that would be lots of slaughtering, because you'd have to hop around to lots of alternate versions, and you got to leave some of them alive because they probably have to pop up in Secret Wars, right? In a couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this would be funny being in the same, not within the same year, but like I guess with Ben Affleck coming back to comic books to finish off his Batman role in the Flash, and then coming back to Deadpool to finish off his Daredevil thing. He's never said he hated it. He's always kind of poked fun at it over the years. So I could totally see him doing that, just to do that, play that version of his Matt Murdock there. But no clue. But I'm excited for Deadpool 3. Like seeing Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds back would be great. Let's end the episode, Mike, talking about the newest Disney Plus Marvel show, Secret Invasion, one that has been in the works for. When did Captain Marvel come out? I guess 2018, I'd say. When they introduced the Skrulls to us, everyone's asked, when are the Skrulls going to infiltrate Earth and take over, Mike? When are they going to do it? Well, the answer is now. So episode 1 is on Disney Plus. I think, let's go ahead and say, flag, this is going to be spoiler filled for this episode, even though
that's usually kind of like the kind of format we stick to here when we review Marvel shows. It's been a bit. We haven't talked about a Marvel Disney Plus show since She-Hulk, which was that earlier this year, or was that last year? Man, time flies.
Yeah.
So yeah, we always talk about these episodes at the very end of each episode. So if you want to avoid spoilers, at least you got a chance to hear all the news this week.
Exactly. And we don't, I just say we'll probably not talk every episode, right? Unless it's like highly relevant. But there are only 6 Secret Invasion episodes. So, they might be doing some interesting stuff. So, yes, we will be talking about this. Hopefully you watch it. If not, pause this, go watch it. It's on Disney Plus. Come back and you can join in our discussion. But, overall, Mike, since we've not had anything since She-Hulk, I think that's been a nice breather, right? We had a lot of Disney Plus Marvel shows like all at once over the past couple of years, so it was nice to revisit this, and I was happy to see Samuel L. Jackson return as Nick Fury. I think he slides right back into that role like nobody's business that he created, or not created, but he, I guess, started portraying as 15 years ago now. So that was fun, but honestly, slow burn. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's kind of hard. I don't want to fully judge things right now since it's just one episode and it's only 6 episodes, like you said, in total. I'm starting to get slightly worried that maybe we're kind of in maybe Obi-Wan territory of this possibly was originally conceived as a film, but then got chopped up into a movie in some sorts. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, slow burn's a nice way to say it. I would say it's teetering kind of on boring, where not a whole lot happens in this episode. And also, they're setting up the whole concept of this Secret Invasion is going to be different, obviously, than what we've seen in the comic books, where in the comic books, like, the big twist was we have captured these heroes or even killed them and replaced them with doubles that have been in front of you for all of these years. And they kind of show us at the very, very beginning that Martin Freeman hasn't been a Skrull the whole time. We've just happened to capture a Skrull that's kind of just mystiquing their way into a Martin Freeman for just, I don't know, maybe a day or a couple days or something.
He was intercepting information, right? And we don't know how long that's been. Like, it's not the one we saw in Black Panther, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So you already can't necessarily trust the characters that you're seeing right away, which really kind of leans into the finale of the episode when we see Maria Hill die, where I don't know exactly what they want me to feel, right? I don't think I've ever really connected to the character of Maria Hill because she's just kind of been a Nick Fury kind of like lackey for most of the MCU and has not really contributed much of consequence. And no shade to Colby Smulders, big fan of How I Met Your Mother. I've seen a lot of hours of her on TV. I don't really have a problem with her in particular, but like when her character like got shot and died, I was just like, well, I'm not 100% sure if she's actually dead. And if she is, do I even care? Like, I guess we need to like, you know, maybe light a fire under Nick Fury more than usual. But I was like, I honestly did not care, and I was not surprised when she died.
I think there's two things here. One, you know, she really good during Avengers and Winter Soldier, right? Like the two, like when we met Nick Fury and she was like kind of actually against him a little bit in the first one, antagonistic in Avengers and Winter Soldier. But like, you know, these two characters, you leave them off the table for so long. What do you do with them when they come back, right? Like that was their prime back then. We are almost 10 years on. Like that's a hard way to pick up from them, from that. But at the same time, I think you're right. Like, you know, it's one of those, like, to me, it is Nick Fury's most trusted advisor, you feel, or the person he trusts the most in the world in the universe is gone. So I'm interested to see him, as he mentioned in Avengers. You know, You've not made me angry. You've made me desperate. You know, and how is he going to react over the next several episodes as a desperate man on Earth trying to figure out who Skrulls and what's going on here? Because I think I would have liked to binge this show. I think episode by episode, like I'm not. It's too slow for me to care. Like it really reminds me of the first 3 episodes of Andor. Remember, the first 3 are not that good. Like until you watch them all together, and then the show really took off. I'm like. It really feels like an Andor show. Like, yeah, you're building the world, you're setting the players, you're setting up the board. It's fine. We got to get moving, but let's move a little quicker. I also think unless they revisit later, I'd say the downfall is there's this whole guy named Gravik, right? The evil Skrull, and this, you know, encampment they're making in Russia. That's fine for the Skrulls who went home, but like, it's not really. I've not been interested in before. Why are we interested in them just now? I don't care about what their cause is yet. We need to get more to that cause because obviously Fury has history with him. We don't know what it is. Why are they angry at each other? Okay, we gotta wait.
And also, since they're trying to be like very kind of cloak and daggery, trying to be like spy, thriller, secretive, just means everyone is playing everything incredibly wooden in this first episode. Like everyone's trying to keep their secrets and their intentions close to their chest, which doesn't really give us a lot of chance to see performances in this first episode, which I think kind of leans into like kind of the drabness of like, I was not excited at all. I felt like I was just sitting on my couch staring at the screen. I couldn't really take anything away from this. And then it kind of made me think like, I kind of observe Marvel things from 2 lenses now. And I would say these are the exact same lenses that you look at maybe even Marvel Comics as well, where one lens is just you're looking for a good story. You're looking to be entertained no matter what's happening, who's involved, what characters. You just want to see some cool stuff happen, right? And in the other lens, you just want some very interesting lore. And that lens is fun because you don't even necessarily have to watch a show to exercise that part of your vision, right? You can go on Wikipedia, see all of these different like stories and all of these twists and turns and like, oh, one time this one character did this crazy thing and was actually able to like make the Hulk bleed or something like that, right? So using that lens on the show is a little bit more entertaining because like, oh, what have the Skrulls been up to, right? How are they like kidnapping people and like taking their like memories, you know? I thought it was kind of interesting that they're living in these kind of nuclear wastelands because the nuclear radiation doesn't harm them. I was like, okay, well, that's clever. Then also sets up like, oh, if they just get a bunch of nukes, right, they can just like blow the planet up and they'll be the only ones that survive, kind of like cockroaches. So I was like, well, this is cool. I like this lore. I could totally see somebody like, oh, you got to read this run of the Marvel comics. It's all about the Skrulls, and they're trying to take over Earth by stealing a bunch of like nuclear weapons. Like, oh, this sounds really interesting. I love like this angle that they're taking, but then you go read the comic book run and it's just like, oh, but unfortunately, like, it's not the best run,
The title, I think, does this a disservice because you're expecting the Secret Invasion books, like you even mentioned at the top, right? Like, this is very much not that. This is a series born out of Captain Marvel. Like, literally, this is essentially a sequel to Captain Marvel right now, running parallel. And I think I would disagree on some of the performances. I think Samuel Jackson and Ben Mendelsohn, who plays it's not Davos. What's his name?
Well, I thought it was Talos, but they pronounce it differently in the show, like Talos.
Yeah.
Like they're saying Talos, but I always thought it was Talos. So I don't know how you're supposed to say it.
Either way, so I think they're both doing. I enjoy them. I think they're both doing. They're really good actors. I'm interested to see what Olivia Colman's character does. The British CIA, how they're running with that.
Olivia Colman is in season 2 of The Bear for one episode. So there you go, tying it back to the
there we go. I just wish this would have all been at once, and this is making me think like maybe they're doing Echo a justice by putting it all out at once, because I think watching this whole show we would have we'd be experiencing the twists and turns as they ebb and flow rather than waiting a week to see what the next one is, right? Like, if this was just one blast through this, you'd be like, oh man, this is great. Oh, that's awful. That sucks. Back and forth. But now we're like kind of in a lull waiting for the next one. And we obviously, they're spy thriller things. There's going to be some sort of twist and turn every week. I just wish it was all at once, right? And I think that would really help me, feel like it's just, it's how we watch Andor. First 3 episodes kind of slow, but like it really picked up, and I was happy to watch 6 episodes of Andor easily in one day. So I really feel a parallel here, and hopefully they can pick it up and go. But at the same time, I'm like, the window for this probably sailed 5 years ago, right? Like, if you're into a Captain Marvel, follow up, do it right after Captain Marvel with the characters showing what they were doing. Don't wait so long, and I think that's really does it a disservice. However, I'm interested to see, do you think that Don Cheadle will be nominated for an award again for his 2 lines he had in this first episode?
Oh yeah, I forgot he's at the beginning of this one.
Yeah, with the current president, who might be replaced by Harrison Ford. I honestly, I'm interested to see who else is a Skrull, but I'm not really expecting. I want to be really surprised by a big name actor showing up in this, Mike, but I really don't feel we're going to get one, right? Like a main hero being a Skrull, and that's really all we wanted, but I don't think we're going to get one in this. I think it's going to be very smaller scale.
As much as I love, Samuel L. Jackson, and we even get Emilia Clarke in this, that's some like star power there as well. But yeah, I feel like if we go all 6 episodes and I don't get just some sort of just like super powered, either like, what do they call them? Like Mega Skrulls, or
it's a Super Skrull.
Super Skrull. If I don't get like a Super Skrull, if I don't get something, like, I feel like I'm going to be like shortchanged.
I need a twist like Winter Soldier did, right? Like where you find out there are Hydra agents everywhere. Mm-hmm. Why? I want the twist, like maybe the end of the show, and my mind will be blown. The end of the show is actually there are Skrull agents everywhere across the MCU. Like, and they reveal some of the heroes are even Skrulls, right? Like, or show them the heroes in captivity with the. I need that level for this show to even make, I guess, an impact on the radar of everything. Otherwise, it's just a little show, and doesn't really matter, because we're going to revisit Nick Fury in November with the Marvels too. So, I'm anxious. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm going to be realistic about what I know that they've done before and how we're going to probably get this at the end of the day. So
yeah, so that means you gotta subscribe. You gotta tune in. Come back next week. If anything of note pops up in episode 2, we'll talk about it here at the end of the episode.
That's right. We will let you guys know. But if people want to, know what you're up to and what you're doing every week, see if you're a Skrull, see if you're an infiltrator alien. Where can they find that at?
Yes, you can find me and my green skin and pointy ears at Mike Royer Design on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And you could read my webcomic at liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, if people want to see if you survived this tornado warning, which, hey, you went about an hour here under that warning and you seem to still be alive, so that's good. Where can they find you?
You don't hear that wind in the background just blowing?
I don't hear nothing.
I'm still
sitting here. We got good technology. We got good hardware recording
that's
this
right.
show.
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, or Video Game Console Assembly. Actually, I'm gonna stop this. Everyone stop listening. Go back to Secret Mission. The intro, the intro piece that I've seen everyone blow up about. We didn't talk about that.
The AI intro.
It's partially AI. The animation was AI, but not the scenes. Like everything was storyboarded and drawn by artists, and they animated it with AI. I don't care. Is that weird to say? I don't care what it was because it doesn't affect the show at the end of the day. Like it's just fun things with like a fun screen with names on it. Do you feel the same way? I feel a little conflicted just because visually I don't really like the look of this kind of dreamscapey AI type of stuff because it just feels like somebody's taking like the smudge tool in Photoshop and just smudging stuff around. But I understand why somebody would think, oh, this is a kind of a good theming for Secret Invasion where everything's mysterious, nobody knows, duplicates, doppelgangers, unsure. Like I think visually it fits the theme of the show. I just don't think it looks super cool. But also I am kind of curious how much of the decision of an opening credits is based on like a marketing department and how much of it is based on the creative of the show, how much of it overlaps. But I'm trying not to think about it too much. The biggest thing is everyone's like, oh, AI did this. No, artists actually did. They didn't just put this into a render and say make an intro for the show. I just want to put that out there. That's a big misconception of when someone says AI did it. But like, yeah, it's just it could be whatever they want it to be. I don't care. It doesn't affect the quality of the show at the end of the day.
And I would like to know also. Technically, like, I understand like the whole plagiarism side of things, very important and very dear to me in my career as well. But theoretically, you can use these AI tools with 100% your own copywritten imagery. And I would imagine that's probably what they did because this would be a copyright nightmare if they're just pulling stuff from the internet.
Well, they said they have artists. No artists were not hired because of this. They designed it. They drew it. They put it into the system to create the animations for it. So like it was purposely done with intent rather than just, hey, we went to ChatGPT and asked it to spit out an intro for the show kind of thing.
I do have to say though, they probably should have read the room, right? Not exactly the best environment to be putting out.
Don't put that in your notes. Yeah, just leave that out of your notes at the end of the day. Anyway, sorry. Sorry to cut you off there, but I was like, oh my god, we didn't even talk about this. But yes, continue. Tell them where they can find more about the show.
Yeah, all you have to do is visit superheroslate.com, created nothing by our own hands, no artificial intelligence involved.
No intelligence at all either.
Setting up that domain. You can find us on Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. You can get our awesome show notes over there too. We have some cool links in our show this week, so you can go check out all the things that we talked about. We love hearing from you. We love our fans, and if you want to be a super fan of this show, very easy to do. All you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.